In a small college town, a night out became a mystery that would haunt a nation. Lauren Spierer vanished without a trace, and with her disappearance, 1,000 questions were born. Friends lawyered up, leads crumbled. The landfill search yielded nothing but heartbreak. Whispers of foul play clashed with theories of an accident.
Volunteers searching for missing Indiana University student Lauren Spierer.
New evidence looking for answers to the disappearance of IU student Lauren Spierer.
You can provide anonymous.
A community divided, a family broken but unyielding. As years turned into a decade, the investigation stretched thin, drowning in speculation, starved for proof. Parallels to other tragedies only deepened the mystery. But every comparison ended the same way, with no answers.
You can provide
amidst lawsuits, public scrutiny, and media storms. Lauren's parents fought against a system that too often forgets. "We know she's gone," Charlene Spierer said. "But we won't stop until we know why." The disappearance of Lauren Spierer isn't just an unsolved case. It's a mirror into the fragility of justice, the silence of secrets, and the ruthless passage of time. One summer night, one missing daughter, a story that refuses to be forgotten. Because even when the trail runs cold, love never does.
Is 35-year-old Justin Wagers. Now, he hasn't been named a suspect, and his lawyer says that Wagers has nothing to do with Lauren Spierer's disappearance.
So I'm dealing with a situation where I'm being blackmailed for money.
Lauren Elizabeth Spierer was supposed to have an ordinary night out. Instead, she became the ghost Bloomington, Indiana could never forget. Born in Scarsdale, New York, Lauren was the kind of person who lit up a room without trying. A spark of life active in her community, beloved by everyone who crossed her path. By June 3rd, 2011, that spark vanished into the night and left nothing but shadows behind. The summer air that evening carried the sounds of college life, laughter, music, the restless energy of young people free for a night. Lauren, dressed in simple black leggings and a white shirt, met her friends at the Smallwood Plaza apartments. The plan as casual as any. Drinks, laughter, maybe memories made. They set off toward Kilroy's Sports Bar, a local landmark soaked in tradition and spilled beer. Surveillance footage captured her entering Kilroy's with Corey Rossman at 1:46 a.m., a crowded, chaotic space where losing track of things like shoes or a phone was normal. No one blinked when Lauren left her belongings behind. By 2:27 a.m., Lauren and Rossman stumbled into the Bloomington streets, caught by cameras, heading back toward Smallwood Plaza. Along the way, a concerned passerby, Zach Oakes, saw something others missed, a girl too drunk to stand straight. He asked if she was okay. Lauren, ever independent, brushed it off. She wasn't fine. She just didn't want to admit it. Inside the building, chaos unraveled faster. Rossman, intoxicated beyond reason, vomited in the hallway before his roommate, Michael Beth, dragged him to bed. Lauren, unsteady but determined, refused to stay put. Cameras later caught her slipping into an alley between College Avenue and Morton Street, a dark, empty cut through the heart of the town. Her purse and keys were found abandoned there. Lauren wasn't. Emerging from the shadows, minutes later, she wandered toward an empty lot. At some point, she ended up at Jay Rosenbaum's apartment, another friend of the group. Witnesses described her appearance: disoriented, unstable, a bruise darkening beneath one eye, a wound she couldn't explain. She made 2 calls from Jay's phone, one to David Rohn, another to someone who has never been publicly identified. Neither picked up. Neither called back. By the time Jay saw her out, Lauren's fate had already been sealed. She insisted on returning to her apartment alone. No shoes, no phone, no plan, and somewhere between the alley and the empty lot, she disappeared. The investigation that followed unraveled into a mess of lawsuits, theories, and rumors. Parents begged, friends questioned, detectives chased ghosts. But no matter how deep they dug, no matter how wide they searched, one truth remained brutal and unchanged. Lauren Elizabeth Spierer was gone, and the night she vanished became a mirror, reflecting all the ways a normal evening can twist into tragedy when no one's paying enough attention. Lauren Spierer's final hours slipped through the cracks of Bloomington's quiet streets and into legend. Shortly after 4 a.m., from inside Jay Rosenbaum's apartment, Lauren made 2 calls, one to David Rohn, another to a still unidentified friend. Neither call was answered. No messages were left behind, only a deafening silence that would soon become unbearable. By 4:15 a.m., Lauren expressed her stubborn desire to return to her own apartment at Smallwood Plaza. Against Jay's protests, she left, alone. Rosenbaum later described how he watched her disappear into the night, barefoot, dressed in black leggings and a white shirt, walking toward the intersection of 11th Street and College Avenue. That was the last confirmed sighting. The last time anyone would ever see Lauren Spierer. The empty sidewalks bore witness. Pale streetlights threw long, distorted shadows across the concrete, each step pulling her further into the unknown. By 4:30 a.m., Lauren had vanished into the ether. No more witnesses, no more camera footage, no more second chances. When her boyfriend, Jesse Wolfe, texted her that morning, he expected a quick reply. Instead, he got something far worse. Silence. At first, he brushed it off. A late night, a missed text, college life. But as the hours dragged on and panic set in, reality landed like a punch. By midday, Lauren's friends and family realized something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Calls were made, police were contacted, and a search was born, not out of hope, but out of sheer desperate fear. The Bloomington police launched an immediate investigation. Officers retraced Lauren's last known steps with military precision, piecing together fragments from security footage and shaky witness accounts. Her abandoned shoes and cell phone at Kilroy's sports bar became the first grim artifacts of the night. Word of her disappearance raced through Indiana University and beyond. Within hours, Lauren's parents, Charlene and Robert Spierer, were on a plane. By the time they arrived, their worst fears had already begun to solidify. Flyers with Lauren's bright smile and her last known outfit were plastered across town, a ghostly army of paper reminders that someone somewhere knew more than they were saying. Authorities grilled the last people to see her alive: Corey Rossman, Michael Beth, Jay Rosenbaum. But every conversation raised more questions than answers. Rossman and Beth described Lauren as heavily intoxicated, determined to find her way back home despite the odds stacked against her. Rosenbaum, the final link in the chain, recalled her departure, and then nothing. As police expanded the search, Bloomington itself seemed to hold its breath. Canine units swept parks, forests, and hidden corners of the town. Volunteers combed waterways and wooded trails, calling her name into the wind. But the ground gave up no secrets. The trees remained silent. And slowly, rumors began to seep in like poison. Some whispered of an accidental death hidden out of fear and guilt. Others spoke of stranger danger, an abduction, a predator lurking in the shadows. Still others pointed fingers at her own circle, questioning what loyalties might have been traded for silence. Theories multiplied. Facts remained stubbornly few. Lauren's history of drug use, combined with a rare heart condition, only fueled darker suspicions. Could an overdose have been covered up? Had her friends panicked and made an irreversible mistake? No evidence could confirm it. No confession ever came. Desperate for answers, the Spierers put up a substantial reward. They made television appearances. They organized mass searches. They kept Lauren's face and her memory alive. But as days bled into weeks, the trail grew colder. Over 3,000 tips poured in, each one promising a spark of hope, each one collapsing into another dead end. By the end of June, investigators faced a grim reality. Lauren Spierer was no longer just a missing student. She was a mystery, a ghost haunting the town that had once felt so safe. Bloomington held candlelight vigils, clinging to the fragile hope that somehow, somewhere, Lauren was still out there. In August 2011, 2 agonizing months after she vanished, the search shifted to the Sycamore Ridge landfill in Pimento, Indiana, a grim and methodical operation. Officers, forensic experts, FBI agents, all converging on a mountain of discarded lives and forgotten things, hoping to find one girl among the wreckage. They braved the stench, the rot, and the crushing weight of failure, sifting through the remnants of a world that had moved on even as Lauren's family could not. And in that landfill, as in the streets of Bloomington, the same unbearable truth remained. Lauren Spierer was nowhere to be found, and the silence she left behind was louder than ever. The landfill was a graveyard of forgotten things, and somewhere beneath the stench and chaos, investigators hoped might be the answer they were desperate to find. Dressed in protective gear, they sifted through mountains of refuse, inch by inch, piece by piece. The search dragged on for 9 grueling days, each shovelful of rotting debris weighing heavier on the hearts of those waiting for a miracle. For Charlene and Robert Spierer, every phone call during that time was a nerve-shredding ordeal. They wanted closure, but they feared the finality that might come with it. Across Bloomington, Lauren's friends and strangers alike rallied behind the family, offering support, prayers, and sweat-soaked hours of searching. Yet, when the dust finally settled, the landfill yielded nothing. No evidence, no closure, no answers, and the mystery that had already swallowed Lauren whole only deepened. Investigators, undeterred, cast their net wider. They chased every tip, every whisper of suspicious activity, but each lead dissolved into dead ends, leaving behind nothing but frustration and the suffocating weight of what wasn't found. Then in 2015, another name sent shockwaves through the already fractured town. Hannah Wilson, another Indiana University student, another night at Kilroy's sports bar, another young woman who vanished. But unlike Lauren, Hannah's body was found, dumped in a remote field. Daniel Messel, a local man with a violent past, was arrested after his cell phone betrayed him, abandoned near Hannah's body. The echoes between the 2 cases were chilling, too chilling to ignore. The parallels reignited fears that Lauren's fate had been sealed by something far darker than anyone dared to admit. Yet, despite the rumors, police would eventually rule it out. Hannah's murder and Lauren's disappearance were not connected. Still, Lauren's case stood as a brutal example of the challenges investigators face when there's no body, no weapon, no witnesses, only shadows and speculation. Theories swirled like smoke in the heavy summer air. Foul play, accidental overdose, abduction. Each theory came with its own terrifying hurdles, and each carried the same devastating truth. No matter the cause, Lauren was gone. Forensic experts pointed to her heart condition, long QT syndrome, and the cocktail of substances she reportedly consumed that night: alcohol, cocaine, crushed Klonopin. A lethal mix for anyone, a ticking time bomb for someone like Lauren. But to Charlene and Robert, none of it mattered in the way the world seemed to think it did. Their daughter had made mistakes, yes, but mistakes shouldn't end in disappearance. Mistakes shouldn't erase a life. Their grief morphed into suspicion, especially when the people closest to Lauren, Jesse Wolfe, Corey Rossman, Jay Rosenbaum, lawyered up early and refused police polygraph tests. Although privately administered tests were later taken, the damage was done. Distrust festered like an open wound. One theory grew darker with time, that Lauren had overdosed at someone's apartment. That panic set in, and instead of calling for help, someone decided to make the problem disappear. The idea was fueled by whispers of Lauren's past struggles with substance use. Her parents never denied it. They didn't sugarcoat her truth. But they would not allow it to be her tombstone either. Lauren was not disposable. And if someone had been with her that night, someone who knew more than they had said, the Spieers believed the silence was no accident. It was betrayal. Other theories pointed outside her circle, to the darkness lurking in the streets. A barefoot, intoxicated young woman, alone at 4:30 a.m., walking straight into the teeth of the night. An easy target. A chilling thought that only deepened the community's unease. The tragedy of Hannah Wilson's murder fed the fear that there might have been more predators stalking Bloomington's quiet streets than anyone cared to admit. Yet, without a body, without proof, Lauren's story remained trapped in limbo, suspended between possibility and nightmare. The landfill search was supposed to offer closure. Instead, it offered a brutal reminder. Some stories don't end with answers. Some vanish, just like the people at their center. The disappearance of Lauren Spierer was no longer just a Bloomington tragedy. It had become a national riddle, a searing reminder of how fast a life can slip through the cracks, and how sometimes the silence that follows is more haunting than the truth itself. And as the years dragged on, one devastating fact remained. The girl who should have come home that night never did. And the ones who might hold the key to what happened, whether by accident, by choice, or by fear, chose instead to lock their lips and throw away the key. The dismissal of a potential suspect felt like a blow to the gut. Another door slammed shut in a long, dark hallway. For those desperate for answers, the disappointment cut deep. As the legal dust began to rise, another battle unfolded. Lauren's parents, driven by a mix of heartbreak and steely determination, filed civil lawsuits against Corey Rossman, Michael Beth, and Jay Rosenbaum. They accused the trio of negligence, of failing Lauren when she needed them most, but the courts were unmoved. Judges ruled that the evidence was too thin, too circumstantial, to prove their actions had sealed Lauren's fate. Meanwhile, the case was no longer just a tragedy. It was becoming a mirror, reflecting uncomfortable truths about whose stories get told and whose do not. Lauren's disappearance dominated headlines, consumed cable news hours, and splashed across national outlets. But just miles away, Crystal Grubb, another young woman who vanished under hauntingly similar circumstances, barely registered a blip. Critics called it by its name, missing white woman syndrome. A brutal reminder that even in tragedy, some voices carry further than others. Through the growing noise, Charlene and Robert Spierer refused to let Lauren's memory be swallowed whole. They worked tirelessly with private investigators, kept her story alive through a dedicated website, and issued public pleas that echoed louder with each passing year. "We're not giving up," Robert said in 2019, his voice hard with resolve. Lauren deserves justice. But justice, like Lauren herself, remained elusive. Her story morphed into a cautionary tale, a somber conversation starter about campus safety, about the recklessness of substance abuse, about the unspoken contract friends have to protect each other. Indiana University changed because of Lauren. Bloomington too. But for every safety measure implemented, for every policy revised, the ache of that empty space where Lauren should have been never lessened. Time marched on. The Spierers, hearts battered but unbroken, began to speak the words they had once refused to utter. "We know Lauren is gone," Charlene said, her voice barely above a whisper, "but we won't stop until we know why." The disappearance of Lauren Spierer stands as one of the most haunting, impenetrable mysteries of modern times. A national story that refuses to fade, stubborn as the unanswered questions that hang in the air like smoke. More than a decade has passed since that warm summer night in 2011, and yet the mystery lingers, sharp-edged and unforgiving, in the hearts of her family, her friends, and an entire community that still wonders what happened when the world wasn't looking. Charlene and Robert's pursuit of truth has become its own kind of legacy, a testament to the brutal resilience of love, the refusal to let grief become silence. Through their tireless fight, Lauren's story transformed. No longer just a headline, no longer just a tragedy. It became a rallying cry, a demand for vigilance, compassion, and accountability in a world too quick to look away. Indiana University, the town of Bloomington, even the wider world, all of them bear the quiet fingerprints of Lauren's impact. Safety initiatives, educational reforms, hard conversations that once would have been easier to avoid, all of it touched by her story. But even as change unfolded, a brutal truth remained. When the evidence is thin, when memories are shaky, when secrets are locked behind silent lips, justice becomes a fragile thing, slipping through fingers like sand. Without hard proof, the theories multiplied: an accidental overdose, a panicked cover-up, a predator lurking in the shadows. Yet none could answer the only question that mattered. In the end, Lauren's story is not just about a young woman lost. It's about every life she touched, every conversation she sparked, every moment of awareness that might save someone else. Her memory remains a stubborn, shining beacon, a reminder to keep searching, to keep questioning, to never let the missing be forgotten. As Charlene once said, with a voice full of fierce, broken love, "We don't know what happened to Lauren, but we know who she was. She was kind, loving, full of life, and that's how we'll always remember her."